Which best picture is the best picture? It's a question that has plagued film lovers for years, decades even. Well, luckily for those 10 people, we're going to get to the bottom of it. So join in, watch along, as I go start to finish and watch and rank every best picture Oscar winner. Today, we put on our war gear, we put on our helmets, and we march all the way back to 1931's winner, All Quiet on the Western Front. All Quiet on the Western Front. Adapted from a German novel, this film follows the journey of a group of youthful, exuberant schoolboys who are convinced to enlist in World War I. The boys embark on their journey and are confronted with death, starvation, combat, and conflict as we see the tragedies of war through their stories. Led by Paul, played by Lou Ayres, and Kat or Katinsky, played by Louis Wellheim, we see the complete spectrum of violence and trauma war can cause. You put all that together, sprinkle some good directing and cinematography, and hey, we've got ourselves a movie. Quick pause, let's take a revisionist history check and look at 1931. Few celebrities born: James Earl Jones, James Dean, Desmond Tutu to name a few. Thomas Edison passed away. The notorious Mao Zedong starts his ascent into power. The Empire State Building opens, and the Christ the Redeemer famous statue also opens. I must say, I find it very interesting to do these revisionist history checks at the same time as we watch these movies. It really helps draw this parallel between the development of the world as well as the development of film, and it's going to be interesting to watch the journey of what goes quicker over time, because right now they're slowly, steadily moving at about a similar pace. But yeah, as we get to the 40s, 50s, who knows what we're going to see, but yeah, just an interesting point to look out for, I reckon, crew. Alright, last thing, and then we'll jump into the content. So, as I've said the last couple of videos, and as I will say for the next 10 or so, as we get in a real rhythm, crew, this is how I'm going to be rating things, and this is how I'm going to be ranking them. So if you look at the scoreboard in front of you right now, you'll see 5 categories, you'll see out of 20, and then at the bottom you'll see out of 100. So I'll rate each of the 5 categories, and then that'll give me a score out of 100. Every film's going to get a score, and then as the list comes to life and as we start to watch more and more, we'll start to rank them and we'll watch the progress and we'll have a look at who jumps to the top. I'm really interested to see where this goes, so make sure you're watching along as well. I want to hear everybody's opinions as we go through it. Alright, let's jump into it. I gotta say, what a nice surprise. You know, obviously seeing All Quiet on the Western Front, the most recent remake recently, I tried to keep a really fresh mind and an open mind going into this one. I didn't want to draw any kind of parallels to say, oh, this had this one and this had this. So, you know, kept a really clear frame of mind, and yeah, watched this and was really pleased with what I saw and almost surprised at how much I enjoyed this one, actually. I love when a film just literally hits you with something straight away and you know it means business. And for this film, it was a particular shot that I thought opened the film really well. You know, we're introed and there's a marching ceremony going on and there's a bit of noise. You're not really sure what's forming. And then we just get this beautiful shot where the doors open and we get to look at the march coming down the street, and it directs us to the room where we eventually meet the boys who are going to enroll. And it just set the tone. I was like, all right, this is a serious step up from the last couple of years, and really pleased with that and really happy. And it just honestly lifted the mood. I was really pumped. I was like, yep, okay, this is going to be good. The resounding thing that I really saw, especially in the early part, we'll call it Act 1 or the first bit of the film, was the acting performances. Again, as I said during the Broadway Melody, you know, people have made the transition from silent film. They're starting to really find their profession in the film industry here with sound, and you're really seeing that come through now. The performances were really strong, and I really didn't find anyone that I found a little bit over the top or annoying. I think everybody played their role really well, and so from that aspect, the cast did a really good job. Even in the dramatized war scenes, a lot of the trauma felt real, a lot of the violence felt as real as it could have been. And personally, I actually really loved the effects, you know, considering the limitations they had, whether they used TNT or what they actually did for explosions. I haven't looked it up, and, you know, flying limbs going everywhere and things like that. It was believable, and it paid off on screen as well. So obviously I watched the new one first. I think I've mentioned that like 600 times, but having seen that and now coming back to this and seeing where they actually have pulled inspiration and paid homage in the new one, that was really neat. You know, I think of the trench scene for one, and I can think of a couple of others that I don't really want to say for context of the film, but really love seeing that. That was a neat touch in the new one, so I'm going to give kudos to the new one for that, but also the old one for having these really cool, innovative thoughts and actually creating it in the first place. one of the strongest points of this film, I felt, was its plot and the dialogue that a lot of the characters had. And especially as the journey progressed and the ones who survive have these really reflective, self-aware moments where they can look back on their journeys and sort of reflect introspectively on how they feel and what they're actually doing. And that was really powerful. And one thing I wanted to highlight on that is, you know, they weren't that far removed from World War One. So when we think about war depictions today, we think about obviously going back in time or using historians to study and look back on the context of those wars. Whereas the thing that I think was really powerful with the dialogue here is, because we're only a few years removed from World War One, we actually had people that had served that could give professional feedback, that could give them the insights, that could really help them understand how they actually felt when they were at war. And you really felt that come through in the script. Luez has this incredible moment in the film where he really just jumps into this impassioned rant and depicts, you know, his questioning around what they're actually there for and what's it all for. And it really got me thinking. It was super touching to think on, you know, we have so much content accessible to us today. And when we think about war, you know, we can do a quick Google search or a quick Twitter search to find out a little bit more about political motives or political movements as to why things are happening. But one of the things that he put in context in this movie that I really felt chilling thinking about was they were so alone out there, and so their thoughts about what are they actually doing outside of knowing they're going to fight for their country, none of these decisions really made sense to them, and it made them feel quite fragile. It made them feel quite small, but also really lost. And as I was doing my research, I came across this quote on IMDb from Michelle Wilkinson, and it really stuck out to me. It says, "The film is not about heroism, but about drudgery, futility, and the gulf between the concept of war and the actuality." And when I think on that, and I think about Luez's speech, and I think about the position these people were in, these youthful men, the innocent nurses, the innocent chefs, the innocent men and women that actually went to war back then, it really is harrowing and chilling to think about the concept of, did they actually know what they were fighting for, or were they just put in this position? And it makes me really thankful to be in an era where I can be informed, in an era where I don't actually have to pack up my things and go fight for my country without really understanding the motives of what's happening. But beside that point, I really loved the way it was portrayed on screen, and it really made you think. And God, for something made in 1930, 1931, to have such meta dialogue that can still transition to today's society, that was really impressive. In terms of things I wasn't too crash hot on, you know, a couple of nitpicky things. Look, it was a little slow in certain areas, especially through Act 1 and 2. I think Act 3 was really well paced, or I'm not even calling them Act 1, 2 and 3, but just through certain bits of the movie it felt slow, and then towards the end it actually felt a lot better paced. So, not going to knock it too much for that, but I definitely did feel that. A request that I would have loved to see more of Paul's journey back from the trench scene. I think there was probably a gold 2 minutes of suspense that we could have got of him either fleeing back or dodging some dangerous situations to get back into the state of play, because you could tell that was a real point of tension in the film, and I wish they extended on that. But yeah, outside of that, and outside the presence of a real villain, again, you guys know I'm going to love a villain when it actually comes up, but still, nothing has come up yet. Besides those points and a menacing villain, yeah, it was a really enjoyable film. So as you can see on screen there are my scores. I'm giving this one a 62 out of 100. Huge step up from Broadway Melody, huge step up from Wings. This one was one that I probably would watch again, and you know, without spoiling too much about the last bit of the film, there was some stuff that happened towards the end, really close to the ending actually, that made me go, oh yeah, this is cinema. But yeah, like I said, really loved the meta commentary, really loved the performances, super solid film. I suggest if you're not watching along already, you should jump on board and watch this one and start from here. Please leave your comments, leave your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about it so far? And if you've made it this far in the video, just a massive thank you. This is something I do for fun and out of passion, and if it's actually giving you something to watch and some form of entertainment, then that warms my heart. And yeah, thank you for making it this far. Like the video, comment your thoughts, good or bad, and please subscribe and come along for this journey with me crew. Alright, I'll see you all in the next video. And once again, I'm not a critic, just someone who loves film.